The early 1970s were the most significant transitional years Motown Records had undergone since shorting itself up as a major musical force. By that time, although the company was still producing superb pop and rhythm and blues music, some of its biggest stars had begun grumbling about Motown's conveyor belt method of creating hit records. The 70s was a period of change, both socially and politically, and the production of pop music did not go unaffected. To keep pace with the times, many labels eventually dismantled their songwriting production staffs and signed prolific singer songwriters and self contained bands who wrote and performed their own music. Berry Gordy was not thrilled about this trend. He had always discouraged his acts from writing and producing their own material because it was said he did not wish for them to share in the music's publishing, which was the inevitable next request. He preferred having his own stable of writers and producers, all of whom were signed to his own publishing company, Jobet, in and much of the money stayed in Motown's coffers. However, some Motown's acts craved more artistic freedom. For instance, Stevie Wonder and Marvin Gaye both felt that they'd outgrow manufacturing music the Motown way. Singing songs supplied to them by staff writers and producers, they must have finally realized that staff producers and writers like Smokey Robinson and Norman Whitefield were earning large sums from songwriting royalties without having to sweat through grueling 40 city tours and public appearances. Wonder and Gay were now asking Barry for the opportunity to express themselves musically through songwriting and, by extension, share in the publishing of their songs. The fact that music wasn't at the forefront of founder Barry Gordy's reasoning when he decided to relocate Motown from Detroit to Los Angeles, Barry picked up and moved 2 decades worth of Michigan roots for the same reason. Optimistic high school graduates and pretty young runaways swarm to the city of City of Angels, every day from all over the world. The silver screen. Burry wanted to get into films, and Project D, Diana Ross, was to be his ticket. And masterminding the Westmore movie, Gory has his usual mythical self. He used the occasion to clean house. Employees and artists considered dead weight would be left behind in the Motor City. Well, desired staffers could keep their jobs, but only if they were willing to relocate to Los Angeles. When Barry Gorey saw the film of the Jackson 5's Detroit audition, he realized that these youngsters had arrived at a perpetuous time. Not only would this group usher in a new musical era for Motown, but they will go with a hit single supplied by Motown's own production staff. These kids didn't want to write and produce their own songs. They just wanted to be stars. For Barry, this must be deja vu. How he longed for a long time, not so long ago when Stevie and Marvin cared only about singing and not about publishing. Seeing a group that would be exclusively reliant on Motown for its material would validate the tried and true Motown process for a new 4 more years. Avery Glory can't have predicted though how much Zabetta would prosper as a result of his singing of the Jackson 5. In 1969, Motown's West Coast division was operated under the direction of one of the company's top staff writer producers as an integral part of a producing team at Motown called the Clan. Derek Richards as responsible for some traffic songs, which as the Supremes' love child. He and Barry enjoyed a close relationship. Derek even had a phone line exclusively for Barry's use, and Barry would call him at all hours of the early morning, brimming with ideas. Integral to Dyke's job as creative director of talent for Motown's West Coast division, he is on ongoing search for promising new writers and artists to bolster the company's roster. That year, he was introduced to two talented young writers, Freddie Parrott and Fonz Mizzle. He thought both amazingly ability and couldn't wait to bring them into the Motown family. For the next 3 months, Deck Richards, Freddie Parrott, and Fonz Mizzle collaborated on a song entitled I Want to Be Free, which was intended for Gladys Knight and the Pips. The team went into the Motown studios with a talented corps of musicians to cut the instrumental track for I Want to Be Free. Remembered fondly by Parrott as one of Motown's greatest instrumental performances. Meanwhile, Barry invited Duck to show the Jackson 5 gave at the Daisy, presented by Diana Ross. Duck was impressed. He had heard through the Motown grapevine that Bobby Taylor was presently recording material with the brothers in Detroit. Though Taylor was producing some good songs, everyone knew that there wasn't a hit record found to be in the bunch. When Deck played the track of I Want to Be Free for Barry, he liked it so much he thought it might be ideal for the Jackson Boys. Give the song Frankie Lawman treatment, he said Deck, and we'll see what happens. Deck recalled Barry lived with the track for long and had a couple of ideas which were good. He was starting to get excited. I wanted Barry to get involved. This was starting to become a very exciting proposition for all of us. Dick decided to call the team Alphonse Mizzle, Freddie Perrin himself, and Gory the Corporation, which would reinforce the democratic premise that there would be no overblown egos involved in the work and that everyone would be treated fairly, he remembered. After the basic instrumental track was finished, it was time to begin rehearsing the kids' vocals to record over it. The boys came over to Barry's house, and that's when they started talking about the song with them and developing a report. For the next few weeks, those kids started work a tremendous number of hours on this one song. It was hard work. Eventually, the song was retitled I Want You Back. The biggest problem with the Jackson 5 was not the willingness to work, said Deck. The problem was that you not only had to be a producer, you had to be a phonetics and English teacher. It was draining teaching them the pronunciation of words. We had to go over and over words one at a time, which was tough. If Michael had any problems other than phonetics, they had to do with attacking and sustaining words and tones. Like any kid, he tended to throw away words. He would slur no rather than hold onto it. He'd be thinking about dancing or whatever and not concentrate on getting the lyrics out. I have to tell him, I need those notes, Michael, every last one of them. As a singer, though, he was great. As far as tone and all, he was terrific. He put a lot of pressure on him because whenever you find a little kid who can sing just like that, the feeling is, yeah, he's so great, I want him to be even greater. I felt that if he could be that good in the raw image, how amazing he could be if you really polished him up. I remember that Dick Richards was one of my first teachers, Michael Jackson said. God, we spent so much time on I Want You Back. He was really patient with me, all of us. I think I must have recorded that thing 2 dozen times. I had no idea that recording could be so much work. I remember falling asleep at the mic. I wonder if I would ever be finished. Just when I thought we were through, we have to go back and do it again. The final recording session for I Want You Back lasted until 2 in the morning. That had to be the most expensive single in Motown history up to that point. Deck Richards added, it cost about $10,000. At that time, the cost of a Motown single was about 2,000. We kept adding and subtracting music until the very end. In fact, the original song started with just a guitar, but at the last minute, I want a piano glissando at the top. I have Freddie and Fonz going there and run their fingers down the piano to kick the song off. On October 2nd, 1969, after the final mixing of I Want You Back, Barry asked Deck how he thought the group's name would appear on the record label. Jackson 5, the Jackson 5 featuring Michael Jackson. Deck said he thought the group should be called simply the Jackson 5 with the numeral 5. Barry agreed. Joseph Jackson was the evil consultant. Imagine what kind of tension might have resulted in the family if Jack had suggested Jackson 5 featuring Michael Jackson?